And we've got Matt Mckay who's going to talk us through some safety considerations with tandem flying. And maybe you'd like to start off by just introducing yourself, Matt, in case anyone doesn't know you.
So a few people already know me, obviously, but if anyone doesn't, my name's Matt. I work at Skydive Auckland, been there for 2 years now, and I'm a camera flyer there, among other things. The reason why I wanted to bring or talk about this was because there have been a few people that have been asking how to do camera flying with tandems as a job. However, more people have been asking just if they can film their friends or their family and how do they do that, and not many people knew where to begin really, or how it all sort of works. So I thought it'd be quite good to give some insight into that really. There might be people here that have never thought about it, or people that definitely want to do it, or people that have done it before. So to the people that have never done it, it'll be quite good, I think. Hopefully it's good. But then to the people that have done it before, hopefully this is just a good kind of refresher of things that we can be aware of. Now I'm going to try and share my screen, where your entire screen, a window. That's the one. Bear with me. This screen, share. All right, can everyone see that? Is that working? Wait for it. Oh gosh. Okay, hold on. Is that on? Is that working?
Yeah, I can see it. Well done.
Woo! Yay! Good. Woo! I didn't put that animation in there. Cool. Yeah, so we'll just crack into it. A few of the main, it's not going to be too long of a PowerPoint, but I'll try and give as much detail as I can. We're going to talk a bit about prerequisites for filming a tandem. So there's no actual qualification or anything like that. It's just really just recommendations and extreme recommendations, abilities of your flying to be able to do this, and some of the other things you should prepare for. Gear checks for sure, even though everyone here knows how to do a gear check. There's just certain scenarios I'm going to discuss as well. Good preparation and ideas and things to practice leading up to and at the time of filming a tandem pair. We're going to discuss climb outs, exit freefall and deployment procedures as well. And then obviously we're going to end on a happy note and talk about all the things that can go wrong. Yeah. So you must, if you'd like to, if you're wanting to film a friend as a sports skydiver, okay, you've got to have authorization at the drop zone from the senior person responsible for tandem operations. So at Skydive Auckland, it's either Fee or Aaron, because they're both instructor assessors or instructor examiners, okay? And then permission of the tandem master. So this is a pretty big one. It doesn't matter how good you think you are, okay, or what's going on. If everything else is going perfectly in the tandem master, let's say they're a bit newer or they just don't feel comfortable with you flying with them, it does come down to them. So they get to choose whether you do or not. Obviously, our privileges being endorsed, meaning that we're going to have a camera on our head anyway. That going down into the filming the students, the quote from the Nzpf document standards and procedures manual. This is directly copied and pasted. But parachutists should have above average flying skills and extensive camera flying experience before attempting to film students or tandems. Obviously, we're just talking about tandems. And it's, again, an extreme recommendation that at least 200 freefall jumps and at least 50 jumps flying camera with experienced jumpers. So that might be filming a two-way or filming bigger ways or stuff like that, okay? Although they're only recommendations, they're really, really good to take note of. And something else that I've written down here in my notes is, along with those things, try and think about and put some of the ownership on yourselves about what your relationship is like with the drop zone. If it's a brand new drop zone that you're going to and you're turning up on the day and you're just going to go, yeah, I'm going to jump with my mate, we've been doing this, they're more inclined to maybe not let you just because they don't know who you are. So if you're a regular at a drop zone and you know a lot of the tandem masters and things there, then you've got a better chance. But if you are going to a new drop zone, just because you're meeting up with friends or family there and you're wanting to film them, it's obviously pretty imperative that you plan ahead. Maybe give them a call and let them know that's what you want to be doing. And talking a bit about ownership, just try and ask yourselves, like, have I done enough to be ready? A little bit of ownership does go a reasonably long way. Just like when Jules was talking about canopy and things like that. Are you ready to make the downsize? What are your reasons for doing it, sort of thing? Systematic gear checks. Okay, so above all else, complacency kills. As if you guys have tuned into other presentations from today, becoming complacent and not really having a system, that is one of the biggest killers or causes injury in skydiving. Okay, there's a quote that my F instructor used to say, and they used to say, when everything is good, the only problem is that everything is good. And those of you who know Paulie will probably know that quote as well. What I do if I know I'm going to do a camera jump or I need my camera equipment to be ready, when I go in on the first day, the morning of the day I'm going to be doing it, I'll pre-flight my camera equipment first and solely focus on that, and then my rig, or vice versa. And at that time, you should obviously not be talking or getting distracted or complacent. Everyone's going to be quite excitable, especially if this is your first time jumping with a tandem and you're going to be filming a friend. Don't become distracted or complacent. So I've just mentioned there that Dan BC over in Skydive Paris, he has an awesome YouTube video on pre-flighting and gear checks and your priorities and things like that. I've got a link here as well, but you can't see it. But if you just search up on YouTube, Dan BC pre-flighting, it's really good to watch, and it brings up some good information. And also, unfortunately, I'm pretty sure this is around many drop zones potentially. People get into a zone of thinking that they don't need to receive a buddy check, but on a day where it's beautiful weather, you've been planning this jump for a long time, you're jumping with your best mate who's doing a tandem, you want to show them how good you are and all that. It's very easy to become a bit complacent or egotistical, I guess, if that's the thing, to get one just because you're trying to show how good you are. But don't be a hero. Always get a buddy check, please.
That's so important, Matt, this buddy check concept. And it's something that's actually compulsory, I think, on many drop zones in Australia to have a buddy check. And it's just coming into New Zealand now. I think it's compulsory at Taupo now to get a buddy check. And I think it's compulsory at Skydive Edel Tasman. I haven't been jumping for the last couple of months, so I'm not 100% sure. But they're coming in more and more. And it's so important to take the initiative, isn't it? If it's not compulsory, do it.
Oh, absolutely, because it could be anything. Okay, you might have missed something as large as misrouting your chest strap, or if someone's knowing that you're going to go up and film your friend and you've got all your rig nice and on and perfect, which is good, but then you've forgotten to put your battery in your camera or something like that because you've been distracted. All of those things really help. And whether you're an F student or D license, I think that it's pretty imperative that you do get one.
So when you're jumping camera and when you go to get a buddy check, do you specifically seek out another camera flyer so that they check additional things to what your gear might be needing?
Yeah, good one. So I do if there's one available, especially if I'm wearing my camera wings, because there's a few more attachment points on my rig and what I'm wearing, and also it affects my emergency procedures as well. Definitely if I'm wearing wings, I'll get another instructor at least to give me a check. But it's always good to get, obviously, familiarity, so someone who knows the job that you're doing, who's well versed in it as well, to check you. But if no one else is around, I'll still get some of the B licensed students, but I might get 2 to 3 of them maybe to give me a gear check each if I am wearing my wings and there's a bit more to look for. But yeah, definitely looking for someone that knows the job and knows what you're about to go through. If this is your first time jumping with a tandem, then they might be able to pick out certain things that you quite haven't thought about yet. So yeah, definitely, that's a good point. Yeah, next one. Cool. So I know there's a lot of writing. I'll deep dive into it all. Okay, so preparation is as we all know, pretty damn important. Okay, we all know free flying is awesome and angles are awesome, and doing everything after we get A or B license in the appropriate gear is really, really cool. There is a reason why during F and multiple stages after that are all belly and flat flying and flat tracking and things, okay? Because the skills that you learn with belly and having those training wheels on need to become quite proficient. So before we want to jump with a tandem, you should be sort of asking yourself, can I fly disciplined, approaching within and tracking away from a formation? And how many formations have I filmed as well? I understand that when you're filming a formation, you're above them, and when you're filming a tandem, you're not going to be above them. However, all the skills that you'll learn come into play hugely, and we see that a lot with people that aren't really too flash at belly and then start asking, can I jump with a tandem? And you're kind of thinking, well, shit, where do we draw the line? But what does that mean? Essentially not approaching too fast, all the dangerous stuff, all the fun stuff, okay? Not approaching too fast, not approaching from above or below. Especially with tandems, you do not want to be doing that. We're going to go into that a bit later on. Flying the right slot, so following the rules of LSD, level slot dock. Obviously with a tandem there might or may not be a dock, but staying on level, not skating around the sky and being predictable. That's a huge one. There's nothing worse than a tandem master feeling afraid that you're going to hit into them. Yeah, that's just of when I was learning how to film tandems. I was obviously in certain areas a little skatey, and they're like, hey, just maybe go back and film some more formations. And that was probably the best thing for them to tell me. Being able to create adequate separation upon track off, that's a really, really, really big one. And above all else, obviously staying altitude aware is priority number one, besides from actually deploying our parachute. The time of jumping with a tandem pair, okay? If we know that we're pretty confident with all of that, and obviously if you've got a very good relationship with your drop zone and they've seen you progress, then there should be no question really whether you can do that or not. But at the time of jumping with a tandem pair, this is really, really big. Discussing key points with the tandem master. So at the moment, you all know how to fly your bodies, but the climb out protocol, exit, what their key is going to be, all of the what if scenarios, which we'll talk about in a second, a potential dock, whether they are comfortable with that, and break off altitudes. So it all sounds pretty much the same that we all know in skydiving. We all know about, we know how to climb out of a plane, we know how to exit on a key, but every tandem master does exactly the same thing, and it's in a completely different way. And what I mean by that is their setup in the door, the tandem master setup, their gear checks, how they move, their key, everything that they do is going to be the same, but differently. Some people might key nodding their heads or moving their whole body with the passenger's body or using an arm, something like that. And I've definitely missed exits from tandems from just being a little bit complacent and forgetting who I was jumping with because they've done something in a different way that I wasn't expecting. So discussing all of those points are pretty imperative with the tandem master. Yep. Cool. Pretty self-explanatory. Like I said, we all know how to climb out of a plane. However, I've got a good video for this as well. Depending on the plane, the step will be in a different place. So this getting familiar and minding your handles is a really, really big thing. I'm going to try and exit out of here and go onto a video. Can you all see the video? Maybe? Is that on there now?
Yeah, I can see it.
Yes.
Sweet. Okay, so this is Reese. He is nearly a graduate of the New Zealand Skydiving School, and I do have his permission to show this. But about a week before we went into lockdown, or 10 days or something like that, he was just doing a normal jump and very current, has smashed out nearly 170 jumps in the last 5 months. And he just hugged the door a little too closely, and everything was going well, and it all changed so quickly. So this is a good example of no matter how confident you are, we still have to remember the basics. This, let me play it. I'm going to have to do this. So that was pretty quick. Yeah, he's on the camera step. That's all good. I don't know if you can see it quite like there now, depending on how good the resolution is. But his cutaway handle, he hugged the door way too tight, even though he's done it 1,000 times before, or many times before. And his cutaway handle just about here has actually come all the way out. There's a better shot of it because throughout the whole skydive didn't notice, and the person filming didn't notice either. But if I get the right shot, you can see how much it comes out. Wait, bear with me. Well, can we see that? That cutaway has come all the way out. And then when he tracked off pitch and the main came shooting out, the RSL did its job and his reserve came out and he's all safe and he's all fine and he's okay. But that was just I thought that was a very good example of, even though we might be familiar with our plane, we might be familiar with the camera step or familiar with everything involved with the drop zone, the basics of just being safe and not getting complacent, they're really, really, really important. So exit on the correct key. This is a good one. If your best friend is strapped to the front of a Tandem Master, you're going to be wanting to look at them smile and you're going to be thinking about getting the shot and all of that. Okay. And the Tandem Master will tell you this as well. Have eyes on them at all times because they're the one in control. They're going to be keying the jump. They're going to be controlling what's going on. Okay. Communication is imperative. And also after exit, being aware that the drogue is going to be thrown. And if anyone's unsure of what a drogue is, please search it up. Approaching safely. So make sure that we have eyes on the tandem pair at all times and can communicate. That's a big thing. We have a lot of control over our bodies. Obviously, when we're flying, we can move way quicker than a tandem. Once the tandem throws the drogue, they're going to be falling relatively straight down and they've got very little steerability of what happens. So we have to make sure we have eyes on them as well. And then the rules of LSD, level slot dock, maybe with or without the dock, they still happen. So getting on level first, not trying to chase them down over the top of them, getting on level and then moving in front of them and being predictable. And the backsliding and tracking away and deploying at correct altitude, that's all self-explanatory. Yeah, this is something that I didn't put in here that I probably should, but the tandems aren't allowed to deploy under 5,000 feet. So if it's getting up to that stage and they haven't given you any signals for moving away from them or anything, it's a good indicator and it's a good thing to know that if it's hitting about 5.5, you should be making your move away from them. But besides from those things, yeah, once you're in front of your friend and the tandem master, have a blast. Cool. So this is just a bit about climbing out, exit, freefall, and deployment procedures with a camera. So I like to, at 3,000 feet before your exit altitude, you turn your camera on, but don't get it recording and get somebody to check that it's on, because the last thing we want when us as solo skydivers are jumping out with our best mate for the first time is to not have that footage. Okay, so make sure, turn your camera on and make sure that someone checks that it's on, and then do a full gear check, like your chest strap and all of your handles in the order that you'd use them. If you've just got a helmet cutaway put in, you might have had a snag free mount on your helmet. But if you've just got a helmet cutaway put in for a G3, you're going to have to be obviously practicing an adapted emergency procedure as well. So just making sure you know where all your handles are and what order you'd use them in. About a minute before you're meant to climb out, I start to record, and you can get someone to confirm that it's on. Stick to the pre-planned jump without getting distracted for sure. And then depending on your competency, you turn your camera off under a fully functioning canopy or once you've landed. Another big one. So this is all the fun stuff, all the dangerous stuff that we can finish on. Becoming distracted at any point throughout this process can and has ended in catastrophe. So although this could be the best day of our mate's life, or dad or sister or whoever we're jumping with, okay, and we're also very excited, it's still our job to keep that whole process as safe as possible. So some distractions are we're having too fun, obviously, but we need to be safe at the same time. Having gear checks, attachment points, exit, lack of altitude awareness, like those things can all happen from being distracted and just wanting to have a bit of fun, okay? The hazards, the what ifs, now you could go into the weeds a lot with this one, but some of the main ones here is there's too much cloud. So the Tandem Master, you might see at different drop zones, like they can jump in cloud and things. But if you're not very comfortable in that, maybe do your weather checks beforehand, a few days beforehand. And if you really want to jump out with your mate, maybe get them to organize it for another time if you think it's going to be cloudy, or ask yourself, am I confident enough to potentially jump in this cloud, knowing that the Tandem gets out last and you might be far away from the drop zone. Leaving too early, too late. So if you leave too early, there's really, it's not really a big deal. You just fall off the camera step and the Tandem's going to come out, and then they're going to throw the drogue and you can just approach safely. But if you leave late, as in you miss the Tandem Master's key, you've become distracted, there's a rollover technique, which you pretty much let go, but use your head to steer your body. It's so much easier to demonstrate it. I'm looking at my screen trying to turn my head and show you now, but it's obviously you're not learning anything. But yeah, we want to keep an eye on that Tandem Master. So if they leave before us, we can roll over or we can just float off, but we have to be looking at them the whole time, because within 5 seconds, there's going to be the drogue that comes biffing out when they deploy it, okay? And if you get hit by that, then it's not a very good thing, or wrapped up in it, okay? Being below or above the Tandem. So there's also another link that I have in here, but you can't see it. But a couple of years ago, unfortunately, there was a 3-way triple fatality over in Australia because a camera flyer went underneath the Tandem Master and had a premature deployment. And you can imagine the rest of what happened. But it's very, very, very important not to go below or above the Tandem Master. One, because of the hazards that we create with that, but then also because the Tandem Master's got restricted view of us. And if we are way above them or directly below them, it's going to be really hard for them to see having someone else strapped onto them. What if we can't fall relative with the Tandem? So if they fall too fast or if they fall too slow, you just want to keep your eyes on them and keep away from them. If you approach too quickly, we know obviously we're not going to be able to brake in time. We're going to hit into them. So I always suggest to aim next to the Tandem Master. So as you're doing that forward movement to approach them to get the shot of your mate, maybe just aim next to them, because if you've never jumped with a Tandem before, it's probably going to be a bit tricky to decide how fast you're actually going. Not being visible at Tandem deployment altitude, so there's not much you can do at that point, but being visual is huge for them. Even if you're in cloud, it's better to stay a bit proximate to them, not touching them, but just so that they can see you, okay? If they can't see you or you're in a bad spot, you just got to have to try everything to be able to let them see you. And then too proximate on deployment. So if you're right in their face and they deploy, a bunch of you have probably heard this, but there's the trap door effect that happens. So they will actually speed up for a fraction of a second. When they release their drogue or release their main, they speed up, and then the passengers and the Tandem Master's legs will come swinging through. And if you're too close, you're just going to get a nice kick to the visor or the face. The one main one that I'd like to touch base on that we talk about quite a lot at Skydive Auckland, never happened at Skydive Auckland, but we do talk about it, is if you are filming a Tandem, there is potentiality for you to be caught in the drogue, okay? So you're too close. What the Tandem Master will do, and what they're trained to do, I believe, is give you a few seconds to deal with it, okay? If it's wrapped around your foot, they'll give you up to 10 seconds to deal with it. After that, they're going to release their RSL, cut away the main. They're going to then release the drogue, and just biffing the whole main and the drogue and everything up to you. They're going to try and track away a little bit, okay, and then deploy the reserve as safely and quickly as possible, okay? So that's what they're meant to do, and then you are correct if you're thinking, well, that just leaves me to deal with that whole situation. That's correct, and that's what we have to take into consideration when we're wanting to do this kind of a jump. And then at the bottom there, never go directly over top or underneath the Tandem, because that is obviously can become quite catastrophic. So just to sum it all up from that cherry presentation just then, preparation is key. So just putting some of that ownership on yourself again, asking yourself whether you can actually do that, whether you do have the skills. Flying capabilities, equipment, obviously you'll want to have a camera perhaps, and discussion with the tandem. That's a really, really important one because they're all going to do things the same but different. Sticking to the script, so not becoming distracted or complacent again, and then also having fun because it's meant to be, it is such a cool experience to do that. So having fun is definitely important as long as we keep it that safe at the same time. I think that might be it. Right, how do I get back to the screen? Stop sharing.
Awesome.
There we go. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Matt.
That's all right. If anyone has any questions, then that's cool. But
let's open it up. Does anybody have any questions? I have some questions, but let's see if anyone else has questions.
Yeah.
Not yet. So my question is, let's say I'm a skydiver and I'm thinking about maybe working in the sport and filming tandems is something that's kind of on my radar. You know, I need to get myself a helmet and a camera. Okay, so for somebody kind of starting out, could you give them a bit of advice? You know, like, you know, should they have a cutaway on their helmet? What's the go these days with equipment?
Cool. So, our standards at Skydive Auckland is that if we are on the camera roster and we're filming tandems, to start with, we have to have a snag-free mount on our head, and we also have to have a cutaway, and that's the same for the skydive school. Obviously, there's lots of people who have different cameras, so sometimes we can have a snag-free. I have a snag-free mount, but then because we do Revel and we've got different cameras, I've then attached a different mount which has made it non-snag free. I got permission obviously from our operator Fiona, so that's quite specific to our drop zone. But definitely 100% a cutaway. You have to adapt your emergency procedures obviously, because after you deploy, the first thing that can happen is lines to wrap around your helmet. So your first point of call will be to cut your helmet away and not to cut your main away, or else your head will just go with it. But yeah, I can't recommend, just as much safety as you can, do it.
Yeah. And then, so a lot of sporties these days, like myself, you know, we jump a full face helmet and we stick our GoPro on it, you know. Is it feasible to have a decent cutaway on a full face helmet these days?
Feasible. Yeah, definitely. 100%. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what else to say, really. Absolutely.
Question, because other people, you know, when they're trying to, these things don't occur to them, you know, because I've never worked in the tandem industry, so my knowledge of cutaways on helmets and stuff like that would be reasonably limited. So it's really good to just talk about it so that people realize that these options are there for them, because it's not actually compulsory at many drop zones to do these things. Different drop zones have different rules in terms of top mount and front mount, and snag free or not, but it's really good for people to understand that there are lots of options available to them when they're choosing that helmet they're going to jump, whether it's going to have a cutaway, whether it's going to be snag free.
Yep. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, because when I got my B license, and we all wanted to, as we all do, we want to put the camera on our head so we can film our friends and we can get filmed in that. I got a snag free mount, and at the same time, it was just, I just thought, well, I've already paid for the mount and the camera and all of this stuff, even though it says it's snag free, just like with Tom's presentation with the AAD, even though it's meant to fire, you know, certain things can happen where it doesn't become snag free. So you might as well go a little bit further and just get as many safety precautions done to your equipment as you can. And I was going to say one other thing. Oh yeah. At different drop zones, if you are looking to work in filming tandems, a lot of places just require GoPros. That's totally fine. But then a lot of places as well are a bit more advanced, and they require 2 to 3 different cameras, like DSLRs, Sony's, like we do Revel as well. If you're looking at putting a big DSLR camera on your head, a G3 is probably not the best helmet to get. You want a flat top or an open face, just if anyone was wondering about that. Just because there's more room to put everything on, and it's just a bit more stable on your head.
Yeah, that's good advice.
Yeah.
Cool.
G'day, Matt. Hey, I've just got a question regarding, this is probably along the licensing thing.
Yep.
I know that with the changes to licenses, if you want to work in industry and fly camera, you have to have that. Is it a commercial license?
No, so you have to have a commercial license to be a tandem master. You don't have to have any specific license to be a camera flyer. However, instead of just a recreational sporty jumping, and we pay our annual fees, which I think everyone's going to have to do pretty soon, for just a recreational jumper, I think it's $70 or something like that. But if you want to work and get paid to perform camera jumps and film tandems, you're now a professional participant. So you just have to pay an extra $20 to $30 a year in your annual fees. That's really all you have to do the NZPIA wise. So no specific certificate, nothing written on your tag, your certificate when you get it and you download the PDF. However, you do have to pay a bit more in your annual fees because you're getting paid to do this job. Most people are already B licensed when they start to begin to film tandems, just because it's obviously not the easiest thing to do. And if anyone with an A license came up and asked, hey, can I film a tandem? You'd probably just, tell them politely to get a bit more experience. So you already be B license. So B license, C license, D license doesn't really matter. Just as long as you've got the skills and you've paid your affiliation fees appropriately, then and the drop zone wherever you are is allowing you to work for them, then that's all you need.
That's cool. Actually, that's just, I've got I'm at the parachute school at the Air Force.
Oh yeah.
School, and a lot of my guys don't even have NZPIA licenses, but they'll have 1,200 jumps because all they do is do free jumps. But every now and again, like your scenario, they might their best mate want to go and do a tandem. So a lot of my guys will try and get licenses when they're about 500, so they go straight to a D.
Yep.
But they want to go. We do our own camera training, and but they might want to go to a drop zone and film their mate. They don't want to work in the industry.
Yep.
Because they kind of do it in a uniform.
Yeah.
But they might want to film their mates, and it was just some of the questions they've asked me before was like, how do I go to the drop zone, and can I just turn up, show them my logbook, and then film a tandem, or do I need some special license?
Awesome. So I've only ever worked at SDA, so I can only speak for them, but I'm fairly sure that a lot of drop zones around New Zealand will be the same. So it's really good to call us first or send an email inquiring just so we can have a chat to you. When you do come out, that's exactly what this presentation was for. You can come out and do it, but we just got to have, if you've got any footage of yourself doing it previously, then that's awesome, because we can just watch that and obviously get a better understanding of how you fly. But calling us, booking it in and then coming a little bit early so we can have a look at your equipment, have a look at your camera setup and what you're doing and your logbook as well. That's a really good way. And then on the day, absolutely. You can do it on the day that your friend or family are jumping as well. But if you arrive maybe 30 minutes to an hour early after being chatting to us online, then it will just speed up the whole process, and we can just put everything in the system and get it all sorted then. But yeah, if they want to do that, they can either get a permanent or a temporary NZPIA license. They have to be affiliated with that governing body to some extent to be able to jump with us. But besides from that, if they just book in advance and give us as much information as we can get, then and they can actually fly and we can see that they can do that, then there's nothing stopping them doing that.
Cool. Cheers, bro.
Easy as.
It does depend on the drop zone, Justin. I know there's some drop zones in the South Island that if you weren't a regular jumper at a drop zone, you'd have zero chance of jumping with a tandem. So it's great that Skydive Auckland have that open door policy and work with people. I think it's just about calling ahead the specific drop zone that you want to go to, and maybe that will impact your decision as to where you will go with your mate if you're keen to jump with them. Because I know for sure that some of the drop zones in the South Island wouldn't allow it. They might allow it if you were kind of a local that was there all of the time jumping, and you've got thousands of jumps, but not someone who just contacts them. And it's all down to their 115 manuals and who is allowed to go on work jumps, basically.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. It is obviously, we do encourage it at SDA, but unless you check the boxes, that we wouldn't let anyone, even someone with 20,000 skydives, if they didn't tick the boxes that we require, then it'd still be a hard pass. Sorry, but
it's sometimes a hard pill for people to swallow, because like I'm jumping 20 years and I've been jumping with my mates and their tandems for years. So this change in policy for safety reasons, and because it's such a commercial environment here, can be difficult, you know, because it's definitely the more traditional thing is that you can jump with your mates when they're doing a tandem, you know, that way. But things I think are changing with the landscape in New Zealand becoming more and more commercial. So it's just about checking in with the particular drop zone to see what their policy is. And I mean, I like seeing people like myself who are not working in the industry being able to jump with their mate if they're doing a tandem, but it just depends on where you are.
Yeah, definitely. Absolutely.
Matt, another question about SDA. Well, two questions actually. One, if I just want to jump with friends, like I'm not really looking forward to get paid for it or anything like that.
Yeah.
Is the Sporty Nzpf license enough, or do I still need to get the...
No. So no, yes, an Nzpf license is enough for you, Diego, since we're such good friends. Okay. I know that you fly quite well, so I'd like to see you film a few formation skydives and just get a bit more discipline, but you don't need any specific certificate or rating to be able to do this. Just be affiliated with the Nzpf, which you are. And then also tick the boxes, show us that, and I know you're extremely safe, so that's good. And then just get some good skills, and then talk to one of our tandem masters beforehand and ask them, hey, would you be okay with this? Which most of them are pretty cruisy, so they'd say yes. And then, just ask the right questions, doing the right things, getting the right skills, which you're pretty much there anyway, and then done.
Awesome, thank you.
Yeah.
The other question, again, like if I just want to jump with friends, and let's say that I jump once today and then it's 1 year without filming tandems, do I need to do something to stay current? Is there such thing as currency, or not really?
Well, in skydiving in general, there is a thing as currency, but
but I mean like filming tandem.
No, I know. Yeah. No, well, that's a hard one. I guess that's up to what we see from you, and it's different for all drop zones, I assume. If you had been doing within that year, if you had smashed out 200 skydives, obviously would be there watching you, and you might be filming formations or doing this, that, and the other. It would just be a call we make at the time. If you hadn't done any filming of a formation, or you just got really shit at belly flying for some reason, that would be a no. But it would be something that would just discuss. The likelihood for you would just be like, oh yeah, you want to do another one? You did one a while ago. Go on, that's okay. Do the right thing. But yeah, it would just be something we'd have to discuss at the time. So there's no currency with filming your friend who's doing a tandem. It's just you as a person and your considerations and what your flying ability is, which we watch anyway.
Awesome, great.
Yeah, go.
Anybody else have any questions for Matt?
No.
Awesome. Well, you did an awesome job, Matt. Thank you very much.
Oh, thank you.
Really appreciate you contributing. And for those of you that don't know, Matt is involved with the Nzpf. He's a participating member. He comes to all of our meetings, and he's a real kind of rep for Auckland, you know, in New Zealand skydiving. It's so important, that we have people getting involved and staying involved, and even if it's just to give your opinion about what the landscape is like in Auckland for a particular thing. So we always welcome participating members in the Nzpf. There's more details about that on our website if anyone is interested to learn more.
Oh, yeah, good one. Sorry, are these the PowerPoints that we've seen in that today? Did you mention that they were going up on the website? Or
I've just recorded the presentation, so we'll probably put the presentation either on our YouTube channel or up on the website. It won't happen over the next few days, but it'll definitely happen over the next couple of weeks. That they'll be up there for people to watch, because I think it's a really good resource for members and for skydivers in New Zealand.
Yeah, absolutely. Epic. Yeah. No, thank you guys for putting this safety day on. This is cool.
No worries, no worries. So we've just got one more presentation left, and that's starting at 1:30, and that's Henry Morgan taking us through some incidences that have happened in New Zealand skydiving. So we've got lots of juicy, hair-raising videos to watch of people almost dying, and but they didn't. You know, everybody did. And so come join us back again at 1:30 for the last piece of Safety Day, and we have had contributions from and from Taupo, and obviously from In-Flight, who Henry is with. And Henry will be presenting all of those incidences together at 1:30. So see you there.
So
Thanks.
hey guys, hello. Can you hear me? Hi. Can I just say something on top of Matt's presentation?
Yes.
Thanks,
Yeah,
Matt.
definitely.
If anyone is interested in like learning anything further about like tandem camera safety, filming other people, how to get into camera, like Sue was saying, if you're new to jumping camera, what kind of helmet should you buy, what kind of cameras to look into, all of that information, just get in contact with me. I'm more than happy to help out. You can't really see me very well, but
if anyone doesn't know who's talking, that's Mason Holden, and he's at Taupo these days. He's fresh out of Dubai, back to New Zealand. We're delighted to have him. And he and Liz are running Fun Jump NZ at Taupo. So you can find them on Facebook. Really learned people that we can that are a very important part of our community.
Yeah. So yeah, as Sue just said, we've just recently come back from Dubai. I was working in Dubai for 8 years, and I was head of the video department at Sky Dubai Desert Campus for 8 years. So my background specialized in video for all sorts of things, special projects, world records, tandems. So running tandem video department for the Desert Campus for 8 years. So if anyone has any questions or anything they want to learn about any of that stuff, just hit us up, send us an email, funjumpnz@gmail.com, or find me on Facebook and just ask away. I've got slideshows, presentations that cover everything from purchasing cameras, helmets, learning how stills cameras work. I'm also a professional photographer, so if you want to learn how to use the stills camera that you want to put on your head for tandem videos or photos or anything, just hit us up, let me know. I'm more than happy to help out.
Awesome.
Thank you, Mason. That's a really generous offer. Thank you very much. Sweet.
I just have just want to touch on that as well. Not a question, but more just adding a little bit in there. Just touching on jumping with tandems and filming them, and you're at their complete mercy. You know, you're relying on them to make sure that they're going to open high enough if you're in a long spot. And you know, if you're filming them, you can't look down, you can't really look at your altimeter. One thing that I do that I encourage you, if you are filming tandems, is you've got 3 altitudes you can set on your audible altimeter. Set one just higher than what the tandem's going to open, so that if you decide to do an extra orbit and you're unaware that you're kind of a bit lower than you should be, that'll go, and you know that you need to be where they can see you in front of them, so they can open high enough so you can get back to the drop zone as well. So just a fun little thing.
Yeah, for sure.
Thank you for that. We've got some very learned camera people on this call. Thank you for contributing, all of you.
That's awesome. Cool.
Sweet. Any more questions or comments? No, wonderful. Thanks again, Matt.
Awesome.
Okay.
Thanks.
Thank you, guys. Thanks,
Fantastic.
everyone.
See you back at 1:30.